to public use on August 16, 1889. A crowd of more than 500 gathered around Old City Hall to be the first group to take the new train. A fist fight broke out to determine who would be the first to ride. The new electric cars were even more popular than the mule-drawn variety, and within the next few years, the Salt Lake City Railroad expanded its fleet of streetcars to 63 and had more than 42 miles of this new and improved track in operation along the city's unpaved roads.
Thanks for watching another episode of Capital City News. This holiday fireworks season, please be sure to take precaution when you're out and about. There's some wonderful safety measurements and some helpful restriction information on slcfire.com. Visit the site to learn more. Thanks again for watching, and I'm signing off from the beautiful Fairmont Park Pond. Poonam with SLC TV, Salt Lake City's government access channel. And today I'm down at Yappy Hour. This is the kickoff event at Liberty Park. Hanging out with my good friend Star over here. And Yappy Hour is actually happening once a month now until September. Visit SLC City Events to learn more. On this week's episode of Capital City News, we hear from the city engineer about road construction work in the city. And our History Minute is about part 3 of our History of Rail. Let's get started with our legislative update and look back. At its June 12th meeting, the City Council adopted the final fiscal year 2018-2019 budget for Salt Lake City, building up core services such as transportation, affordable housing, parks maintenance, and public safety. The council also adopted a resolution to support a countywide 0.25% sales tax increase dedicated to transit and transportation projects. Mayor Biskupski launched 10 summer road construction projects scheduled for completion this year. With population growth on the rise, so is improving roads to accommodate more frequent travel demands in the city. Road reconstruction and pavement preservation projects will help maintain a road network that is safe and sound for years to come. After a 2-year rehabilitation project, the historic Salt Lake City and County building is now complete. To celebrate the culmination of the project, Mayor Biskupski helped place the final stone on the south side of the building. In keeping with a long-time tradition for stonemasons to leave their mark on the buildings they've worked on, the unique carving models master stonemason Jeff Eagle. This summer, 7,500 children and youth will be ticketed by Salt Lake City police officers. Their citation? A free 7-Eleven Slurpee coupon. Salt Lake City Police, in partnership with 7-Eleven, kick off Operation Chill, a community service program. Now in its 23rd year, the program promotes positive behavior, good deeds, and building better community relations with law enforcement. Date night just went to the Dogs of Salt Lake City. Yappy Hour was the life of the party this June at Liberty Park. Over 2,000 people and their four-legged friends enjoyed off-leash play, food, live music, swag, and giveaways. The next event will be held on July 18th at Fairmont Park. The new and improved Liberty Park concessions area is open for business. The public is invited to enjoy Liberty Park's historic rides, including a Ferris wheel, swings, merry-go-round, train rides, summer food items, and more. Funding for improvements to the concessions area was awarded by the Salt Lake City Council. The Gallivan Center celebrated its 25th anniversary with a free community concert from nationally renowned performer Jon Batiste of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, alongside top local musician Philip Keane and his orchestra. Gallivan Center has served as downtown's most central urban space, offering city residents, workers, and visitors a venue to experience recreational activities, events, and more. Salt Lake City's road construction and maintenance has kicked off for the season. Matt Castle, city engineer, is here to fill us in.
Conceptually, there's distinct differences between maintenance and reconstruction. Maintenance is something you do every 7 years. You're putting asphalt on the road. You're making it so that it comes back up to a good quality street. But if you don't do that every 7 to 10 years or so, the road becomes into disrepair, just like Gladiola. And it comes to a point where reconstruction has to occur. And reconstruction is we take all the existing asphalt or concrete out and put brand new asphalt or concrete back in. We did a study back in the winter that showed the streets in the city that are beyond the ability to be maintained. There's a point where once they slip to a poor quality of street, all you can do is reconstruct them. And that's one of the things that we've identified are what those streets are and what needs to be done on them. It actually comes out that 2/3 of the streets need to be reconstructed. So only 1/3 of them are we still able to do just routine maintenance on them. 2/3 really need to be rebuilt either to full depth or with a big overlay on them. Good roads have many good qualities. One, from an environmental aspect, good roads reduce the amount of pollutants that get into our stream. They're much more drivable, so I believe there's studies suggesting that better roads, less accidents, less damage to vehicles because there's less potholes, so there's many benefits to the environment plus to the community themselves. So for more information, just come visit our Funding Our Future website.
And now we travel back in time for a History Minute.
In April of 1881, Salt Lake City became the 5th centrally electrified city in the world, behind London, New York, San Francisco, and Cleveland. The Salt Lake Power, Light, and Heating Company, formed that past November, built the city's first power plant. It was located on the second block south of Temple Square, about where the stage of the now empty Utah Theater sits. There, 60 horsepower boilers ran an engine that drove 4 generators, all inside of a 30-foot by 70-foot brick building. This system provided lights to the businesses of Main Street and would serve as the model for providing power to the entire city. In the history of the Utah Power and Light Company, Dr. John S. McCormick describes the night the first time electric light came to Salt Lake City. At 8 p.m., the lights came on, he said. Even a blind man would have known it because a loud shout went up from the assembled spectators, and those who had remained inside until the last moment rushed out into the already crowded streets. At first, there was only a faint, pale glow, but it gradually grew brighter and brighter until each lamp glowed like a sun, being fully as dazzling to the eye and lighting up every nook and corner within their reach with the brightness of noonday. Today, it's impossible to imagine Main Street without electric lights, making this evening in 1881 one of the most important in the history of Salt Lake City.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Capital City News. Today I'm signing off from the beautiful Liberty Park concessions area. We hope you get a chance to come out in Salt Lake City and enjoy all the events that are happening near us. For SLC TV, I'm Poonam Kumar.
Welcome everyone out. Is this on? To our city council meeting this evening, July 10th. I'm Andrew Johnson. I'll be conducting tonight. We'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. We have Scout Troop 44 here tonight. We're very honored to have them. And will everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Troop 44, we're proud you're here. We'd like to invite you up to the front, though, now. You're not quite done. We want you to come up and say your name, and also say, well, how about the funnest thing you've done all summer? And also your leaders, please come up and do the same. Take your turns at the microphone there behind you. Yeah.
My name is Spencer, and this summer I went to the San Rafael Swell on a vacation.
My name is James, and so far the funnest thing has probably been going camping.
My name is Grant, and I'm his twin brother, so I think I might have the same answer, going camping.
My name is Driven, and my favorite thing to do this summer is probably play video games.
My name is Talon, and my favorite thing that I did this summer was that I went to Europe for a little.
My name is Ryan Brady, and by far the funnest thing, the biggest thrill this summer is being able to be here at the city council meeting.
No laughing, that's serious.
He'll have his 2 minutes. I'm Loggins Merrill, and one of the funnest things I've been doing this summer is watching some of the World Cup games. So.
Excellent. Thank you. I believe Loggins Merrill, you set this up for them. This trooper from Sugar House, correct? And District 5, so Aaron Mendenhall's district. Anything you want to say, Aaron?
I hope this is the first of many exciting council meetings that you guys will attend as good citizens in our city. And I know you're under good leadership with these Scoutmasters. Thanks for being with us.
All right, thank you all very much. At the beginning of each formal meeting, we'd like to welcome everyone and also go over some standards of conduct. We appreciate that you've taken your time out of your day to attend our meeting, to participate and see your local government at work. To start the meeting, we have laid out some guidelines for decorum and civility to help make sure people feel comfortable and safe to participate. And some of these are, please be respectful during other people's comments. Avoid cheering or jeering because it could cause someone to feel intimidated. Please also help take care of this historic meeting room by not standing on the furniture or leaning against decorative pieces, including the wonderful picture of Brigham Young back there. If you have a sign, a prop, or other piece of equipment, such as video equipment or other things, please make sure that it does not cause disruption or block other people's views. And also, items like sticks and dowels are not allowed. Please do not approach the dais, meaning up here with us. If you have something to pass out to the council, one of our staff members can assist you. In fact, any staff members here who can assist tonight, can you raise your hands so folks can see you? We're here, on the side over here as well. Thank you. Our staff is here to help you. If you need any assistance, please reach out to them. Raise your hand and they'll come and help you out. Also, we recognize that 2 minutes of comment time may not be long enough to get all of your thoughts outlined tonight. So please visit our website at www.slccouncil.com or refer to the contact information sheets by the speaker cards for information about other ways to share your comments with the council via email, phone, or mail. We are going to lead off tonight with item A4, approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
I should probably tell you which minutes first.
Well, as written.
You good as written? Okay. So we have a motion by Councilmember Luke, seconded by Councilmember Mendenhall? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Now we are on to item A5, a joint resolution between the council and the mayor. And for this, we're going to turn it over to Councilmember Mendenhall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a bit of a delay or a belated resolution as it was presented to us for our opportunity to adopt it at our last meeting in June. So forgive that it's July, but it's a joint resolution declaring June 2018 Immigrant Heritage Month. And I'll read the resolution. Whereas generations of immigrants from every part of the globe helped build our country's economy and created the unique character of our nation. And whereas immigrants continue to grow businesses, innovate, strengthen our community, our economy, and create jobs in Salt Lake City. And whereas immigrants provide the United States with unique social and cultural influence, fundamentally enriching the extraordinary character of our nation. And whereas despite these countless contributions, the role of immigrants in building and enriching our nation has frequently been overlooked and undervalued throughout our history and continues today. Now therefore be it resolved that the Salt Lake City Council and Mayor of Salt Lake City declare June 2018 Immigrant Heritage Month in Salt Lake City and encourage all residents to learn more about the social and economic impact of immigrants in the city and throughout the country. And I have a resolution signed by the mayor and the council. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll look for a motion now.
I'll move approval.
We have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall, second by Councilmember Luke. Is there any discussion on this? Comments? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you very much. The next item is A6, another joint resolution between the council and the mayor, and for that, I'll turn the time over to Councilmember Luke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this resolution was released publicly last month, and I had some real hope that it would be irrelevant by the time we got to July 10th. Unfortunately, it is still very relevant, so I'm honored to read it tonight. It's a joint resolution calling on the federal government to cease long-term detention of families and any further separation of detained immigrant families resulting from the zero-tolerance enforcement of misdemeanor policy. Whereas the United States is a country of immigrants and Salt Lake City's immigrant community is part of the lifeblood of our nation and our city, creating diversity resulting in talents and achievements which contribute to the rich society or the rich history of our country. And whereas through its recent immigration enforcement measures, the federal government has failed to grasp the significance of immigration and refuge in this country, more specifically with the implementation of a zero-tolerance policy that has resulted in the separation of countless parents and children, as well as potential long-term detainment of families. And whereas this policy of separating undocumented children from their parents and potential long-term detainment of families is cruel, inhumane, and anti-American, in direct contradiction to the core values of the United States, and whereas long-term detainment of families creates physical and psychological effects detrimental and devastating to not only the children, but to parents as well. And whereas evidence suggests that these zero-tolerance policies do not reduce northern migration. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Salt Lake City Council and Mayor of Salt Lake City affirm they embrace the immigrant and refugee population in Salt Lake City, and therefore opposes the zero-tolerance immigration policy of separating children from parents, as well as long-term detainment of families. Be it further resolved that the Salt Lake City Council and Mayor of Salt Lake City join with political and religious leaders urging the federal government to depoliticize the issues and implement humane and comprehensive immigration policies which will secure family unity in furtherance of the universal values of our country. And this is signed by the mayor and the full council.
Second. Thank you, Councilmember Luke. I'll look for motion now.
Second.
Any second? All right. We have a motion by Councilmember Luke, a second by Councilmember Kitchen. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Chair. Please.
Thanks, Councilmember Luke, for bringing this resolution to our council. And I guess I just want to say that I wish there was more we could do. And resolutions have been a way for us to give a voice to timely issues locally and nationally. And I think the two resolutions that we've passed tonight are not disconnected. And as a city council in this sort of lowest rung in the ladder of government, as I see it, I just wish there was more that we could do on both of these fronts. But I appreciate our council's values and support as we do things. We do what we can where we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I tend to not want to add much talk to these meetings, but on this issue, I'll say very succinctly, I fully agree with this resolution. I can't think of a more detrimental thing to families than to separate them. It's a complicated issue, but I think the consequences of doing this are horrendous. So thank you for the council and the mayor for doing this. I appreciate it. So with that, we will vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. We will now hold the public hearing portion of our meeting. We have a few opportunities for public comment tonight, and we'll call people based on the comment cards that have been turned in. Comment time is limited to 2 minutes per person, and you cannot combine time with another speaker. And again, as a reminder, please help us create a civil and respectful meeting by being respectful of other people's comments. No loud noises or disruptions, please. Do not block other people's views with signs or other items. And please allow council staff to pass out any handouts that you might have. I don't know if you have any cards at this point. No? Okay. Well, our first public hearing tonight is for an ordinance, adopting an ordinance that would rezone the northernmost 100 feet of the property located at 475 South, 300 East from public land PL2 to TSA UC-C Transit Station Area Urban Center Core, excuse me. I guess we have no comments on that. Is anybody who would like to speak to that particular issue who is here tonight? Okay. Well, seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Rogers, second by Councilmember Mendenhall. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Our second public hearing tonight is B2 regarding an ordinance amending the zoning map for a parcel of property at approximately 1316 East Downington Avenue. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this issue tonight? We do have one? Oh, sorry. We do have people who wish to speak. We are going to, I'll call it 2 names at a time. So the first person come up, the second person be ready to come up next. We're going to start with Damon Hughesby. All right, come on up, Damon. And after that, Miss Judy Short.
Evening. My name's Damon Hughesby. I live on Downington Avenue at 1317 East, so I'm just east and north of the properties. I'm here to throw my support behind whatever rezoning schemes need to be adopted to tear those properties down and put something in there that's actually being lived in and taken care of. They are a constant blight on the quality of life in the neighborhood. They are a source of all manner of hooliganism, especially during the summers. It's nonstop. Some of you are probably aware the old Allen Park Bird Sanctuary is there. So all night long through the summer, there are carloads of people. I don't know where they come from, what they're up to, cutting across the river there to get up into the Allen Park. They get in confrontations with the groundskeeper over there. There's all kinds of defamatory language being screamed at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's, I'm at my wit's end. I've lived there for a couple of years, so whatever can be done to move ahead with this project and give us some relief, I'm co-sign. And that's all I got to say.
All right, well, thank you very much, Damon. Judy Short next, and after Judy, Peter Caroon, please.
What he said. We heard so much when we had our land use committee from the neighbors about all the stuff that goes on. It's amazing. And all the critters that live in those buildings. So get them down. I think we like the project a lot. It'll be a nice upgrade to the neighborhood. They're very expensive condos. So we're hoping that they'll probably be faculty for the U or maybe Westminster. The neighbors had some concern that they would be party houses, but I think they're priced too high for someone to buy it and just rent them out. I think the one point I want to make tonight is the fact that 13th East is about to undergo a major overhaul. They're going to close it, not close it, but from 13th South to either 21st or the freeway, a lot of it, to one-way traffic for probably 6 months while they redo the water, the power, the sewer, the everything. One lane at a time. So approve this tonight. Don't wait till June 30th or whatever it said on your report, because maybe they can haul the destruction out before all that other stuff happens, because that's going to slow this project down. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judy. Mr. Peter Caroon, and after anyone else who would like to speak to that, please raise your hand, and the council staff can get you a card.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Council. First of all, I appreciate your resolutions tonight, very timely and important. Thank you. And you are the highest rung of government, so in my eyes, closest to the people. As here representing the owner, I would like to speak in support of the project. Obviously, these buildings, as I think all of you know, have been vacant for many years, and their time to be torn down is now, and we look forward to hopefully having a resolution tonight to support that. Otherwise, we have to wait, I think, another 3-4 weeks before we can get back on the council agenda. So we would appreciate a resolution tonight if that's possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else who'd like to speak to this item tonight? Okay. All right, James Bergeson, come on up.
Once again, we seem to come here, and I've heard a lot of community outcry about, placing all these homeless there. The good Politburo chairman says, the homeless got to get out of downtown because of the crime and the drugs and things like that. But now she wants to push them into the interior, so-called. And, she wants to help the homeless. That's what her campaign was. But then she sits there, the road home. It has more beds than all of her stupid satellites. I don't understand this due process. She takes things without due process of law, sends the police up to get the homeless up, and then the big equipment comes and they just scoop their possessions up. Where's due process of law? This is just a straight form of tyranny, and it's like neo-feudalism. You all got your pocket PCs. Type that in and go to Google and then hit images. There's a triangular shape there. This is the same effing thing, man. You politicians are supposed to work for we the people, and yet in that pyramid scheme, you're way up at top and everyone else is like 3 or 4 categories below you guys. How is that fair? I mean, I don't understand a lot of the crap you do. You just want to get the homeless out of downtown so building investors will come in and pay you money. That's all it is. Gateway, they want to come in and do something with it, but oh no, you got to get rid of the homeless. You guys ain't doing nothing to help the homeless. You're just going to push them out all over the place, and then what? There's so many police nowadays that they can respond to all these extra calls. Some idiot called the cops on me the other day. I had to sit around for an hour and a half in the hot sun. I didn't even fucking do nothing. They don't arrest me or nothing. I just had to sit there and wait. I don't understand. Socialism looks real good on paper, but in practicality, I mean, is the USSR still around? If socialism is so great and so good, then why isn't the USSR still around? This form of tyranny you want to impose on everyone, it's going to go where we say we don't care what the people live there have to say. They're irrelevant. It's all about money in our pockets. Establishment keeps funding you guys, and it's ridiculous.
Thank you, Mr. Berenson. Anyone else who'd like to speak to this item tonight? All right, seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would move the council close the public hearing, suspend the rules, and adopt the ordinance rezoning the property at 1316 East Downington Avenue to RMF 30.
Second.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Fowler, second by Councilmember Rogers. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Our next item is B3, a public hearing about placing a general obligation bond for streets on the 2018 ballot. I have a few cards here. Again, if you have not filled out a blue card on this and you'd like to speak to it, please raise your hand, and we'll get you a card and get you on the agenda here. We're going to start with Gene Peterson, followed by Jim Webster. Looks like Webster. I apologize. Mr. Peterson first, and Mr. Webster next.
Good evening, Councilman. My name is Gene Peterson. I think you called my name.
I did, yes.
Okay. I'm concerned not specifically about the bond for the $20 million that's been mentioned, but in financing in general. I've been in the zone number 2 of the city for about 2 years. First year, we paid our taxes. The second year, it was up 20%. We've also seen a tax hike, 0.05%. We're now seeing a recommendation for $20 million for roads, and we've seen our water and our trash fees go up. So I'm only seeing one side of the equation, and I'm curious where all the money is going to, because taxes went up 20% for me, and there's, you know, you're simply asking for more money, but we're not having any information whatsoever where it's coming from. I think there's a lot of facilities that are putting out quite a bit of money. This should be a rather lucrative section, I would think. Salt Lake City, we've got the airport, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of businesses, and a lot more development, changing zoning to multi-zoning from single-family residences, and I don't understand what's happening. I've asked the young lady there to send me some figures on your complete budget, and that way I can attend another meeting and perhaps give better comment. But I'm concerned about constantly asking for money and this tremendous increase in property taxes. I frankly don't understand that. I think you people are probably under a lot of pressure to do things, and I don't blame you for doing what you're doing, but I think we have to be very responsible. I've heard comments also, we want $50 million to repaint the buses, and I think that's very irresponsible. And so I'd like to see something a little more appropriate, specifically how much money is available and where it's going. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. You can actually speak to our staff before you leave tonight and get more information as well as the budget you requested. So
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
You can speak to any of our staff tonight before you leave to get direct information right now, plus the budget you requested as well. So feel free to talk to our staff. Where are we at here? Right there, Jen can? Okay. So Jen can talk to you directly tonight if you'd like.
Now, I think I filed a request to the lady over there.
I'll send you the budget, but Jennifer can speak with you more directly.
I'll try to attend one of your later meetings, and maybe I can make some more constructive comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Jim Webster next, please. Following Mr. Webster, we'll have James Berenson.
I think I spoke to this matter a few weeks ago when I was mentioned that I was on Mayor Wilson's Citizens Budget Advisory Committee, and that was a very powerful group of people. And that was when I remember them saying, we've kicked the can down the road way too many times, and that was in the 1980s on this road thing. So the bond is obviously needed. I want to say that I think Parviz is doing a fabulous job. I think you're very fortunate to have him on board. The concern that I have, and Charlie and I talked about it a little bit before the meeting, is what would be an equitable share for the state to contribute in terms of the impact in the East Bench. The traffic on our neighborhood streets is just really significant. They are not arterial streets, yet they're being used that way. And if we're going to focus on arterial streets only, we also need to, I think, identify the impacted streets in residential neighborhoods that are also being impacted by the state. I'm speaking of the university, the research park, and the hospitals. The heavy truck traffic has also increased because of the massive amount of construction that goes on up there, and a heavy truck, a 10-wheeler loaded down, either coming or going, is considerably more of an impact and a destructive force on a residential street and as well as an arterial street. And I think that needs to be taken into consideration. And I would also like to see some impetus behind moving the Supercross out of Rice Eccles, as indeed the other motorcycle event has moved out to Tooele. I think both of them ought to go out there, because the impact on Guardsman Way of moving all that dirt back and forth is not only redundant, it's just plain stupid. And I think, other things that I think we need to consider is how we can best accommodate the traffic, the amount of traffic that's being generated by the university. They're currently building yet another parking lot. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Appreciate it. James Berenson next, followed by G. Kelly.
Maybe you pseudo-intellectuals can help me understand. You just did a tax increase to help pay for the roads. So why is there a bond? Most of these people here probably don't know this, but Salt Lake County, I think it was on the 95 or 96 bond, they wanted to raise property tax to pay for a new jail, and the agreement was that when the jail was paid for, they would reduce the property taxes to where they were before they raised them. The jail was paid for in 2015, yet property taxes have not gone down. You want a new bond to pay for the roads, but you've already done a tax increase to help pay for that. So your whole thing, it doesn't make any sense. I'm sure you have deep pockets, and the people you whisper in their ears to bid for these jobs, they give you a little Christmas present or pay for your fancy dinner, maybe a wardrobe. I have no idea. I'm not a politician. But, you say we need to raise the taxes to pay for the roads, and then now you want an $87 million bond. When, in all rights and purposes, people with any common sense would realize you're just going to waste the effing money. I don't understand how you come up with all these things to keep taxing us for. I gave you that definition of liberty. The state of being free within society from oppressive reactions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views. Raise taxes. That's not oppressive, is it? We're all billionaires. Why, my yacht in the Malibu and all these other hoity-toity bourgeois crap that I have, you guys, you took an oath when you signed into office to protect and defend the Constitution. I don't know if it's the Utah State Constitution or the United States Constitution, but in the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, it says all citizens are entitled to life, liberty, and prosperity. Yet every time you meet, you don't put anything on a ballot. You just say, this is our will, we're going to do it. Joseph Stalin, Karl Marx, Mark Lenin, they would all be proud of you here today. Oppressing the people that you keep stealing from to fund your grand illusions.
Thank you, Mr. Berenson. G. Kelly.
Good evening. All I want to say is it's going to be what it is. It is what it is. But what I've seen here in Salt Lake when they do road construction, it don't last very long. I mean, my cousin went to Berkeley, got 3 degrees. He worked for DOT in Denver. And if you've ever been in Denver, you see how the highway is a lot better than ever here in Salt Lake. You can see the state line and tell. Anyway, he got a council meeting. He was a head up in DOT, and he says 5 years before they do anything, you got to get the water, all the utilities, contractors, everybody at a meeting to be able to lay everything down with soft cement, so you can go in and dig under the road instead of tearing it up and covering it over. And anyway, the results is drive through Colorado and see the difference between the roads. And if you guys could do this with DOT whenever you meet with DOT, 5 years is enough sufficient time to be able, you can't cut into that road at all. Lay it out fine. They pay extra money, but all these little D's on the trucks, on the right-hand lane, you see on the freeway where all the it's saggy, it's bumpy. And that causes more problem down the road. So if you could do this, in Salt Lake, they built Redwood Road, and the next week after they laid all that cement, they were digging it up and putting the manholes in it. There's got to be a better way to do this. So he did a terrific job for Denver. My dad hauled dirt for these highways in Colorado. And I live here now, and all you guys are doing, look what they did with I-15. The guy that worked in Glenwood Springs did the 6 North overpass. You look at it, and it's bumpy, it's all curvy. He did a crappy job. Oh, yeah, he was proud of it because I was cleaning up the park, and they didn't have money to clean the park up for the Little League. But you go over there at the softball teams, and they're immaculate. So, anyway, I talked to this John, and he said, oh, yeah, we did Glenwood Springs. Yeah, well, you go through there, and you see how they build the houses and everything, and the curves are perfect, everything. And you get over here, and he did that, and I look at the work and the workmanship, and it's crap. I don't know what it is. Oh, my time's up? I didn't hear you.
That's okay.
But thank you. I'm the last one anyway, right?
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. We appreciate your input.
Well, you know, you guys got to get your head out of your yin and whatnot. You know, just do it right. First time, then you don't have to do it over like they did I-15 when they built it.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly was the last card I had tonight. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this issue? Okay. Well, seeing none, I'd like to look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the council continue the public hearing to July 31st meeting.
Is there a second? We have a motion by Councilmember Rogers, a second by Councilmember Luke. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Items B4 through B9, public hearings, involve various grant applications and will be heard as one public hearing tonight. I have one card from Jim Webster. If there's anyone else who'd like to speak, please raise your hand. We'll get a card to you. Mr. Webster, come on up. Time is yours.
Well, first of all, I'd like to go on record that grants are a way better way to go than bonds, if people seem to appreciate that approach. I'd like to reiterate a concern that I've had for 30 years, actually 35 years, began raising money in the private sector among our neighbors for the Steiner Swim Center. That ultimately evolved into the Salt Lake Recreation Center. None of the money that was used to construct that facility was public funding other than the Salt Lake City School Board. And so I thought we'd done what we could do. We also, as a group of neighbors, came to the Forest Service and said, how about if you move the interagency fire service off of the Guardsman Way property, if we can help you find an alternative location? And we did that as a citizen group. And then the state horned in and ended up with the property. That's another aspect to that story. But the district ranger and the forest supervisor and the interagency ended up having no place to go. So that was a really unfortunate deal. I would like to encourage the council to help the East Bench community figure out a way to fund the acquisition of that property as is specified in the East Bench master plan, that 7 acres on Guardsman Way for the expansion of the Steiner Aquatic Center, which is now a recreational facility. The first phase was built. It's been 30 years since that happened. I'd like to see future phases, possibly including a senior center. If you look at the demography for the East Bench, that's where the elderly live now. We don't have a senior center. And so I think that's a creative way to fund some of these facilities, and I certainly would encourage it. I support that grant. I don't know much about it. I don't know whether it's actually going to come to fruition, but I would certainly encourage the city and the council to look at that as a funding alternative. Thank you. I also have one yellow card. Can I deal with that right now?
Hold on, we'll call you back up.
Separate deal.
That's another deal.
I was the only one.
We'll call you back up again. Thank you, Mr. Webster. Anyone else who'd like to speak to these grants tonight? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the council close the public hearings and refer items B4 through B9 to a future consent agenda for action.
Is there a second? Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Rogers, a second by Councilmember Fowler. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Looks like we have no potential action items this evening. Next, we are at our comment section for our agenda. Are there any questions we have, Chief of Staff and Deputy, and second. We have the Brain Trust here. Thank you very much for being here, both of you, David Litvak and Patrick. Any questions for the administration?
I do. I have a
Mr.
question.
Rogers.
Do you have any idea if the mayor is going to allow administrative staff to attend the work group meeting tomorrow or the meeting with the governor on Thursday?
Well, we haven't been invited to the meeting on Thursday, so we did receive a letter from you just probably an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, so we're taking a look at that, and we'll be getting back with you. Thank you for the letter.
Yeah, I know that the governor's office, they said to us that the mayor has been invited.
It's not the case.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right, well, thank you again for being here. We are now at item D2. We'll be taking general comments. I will call people based on the comment cards that have been turned in to me. I have a few right here. Just like the public hearings, I will call people two at a time. The first person come forward to the microphone, and the second person, please be ready to follow. Again, comment time is 2 minutes per person. You can't combine time with another speaker, and please be respectful of others' comments. Do not block others' views, and please let council staff help pass out any handouts you may have for us tonight. We're going to start tonight, with Amir Cornell, and followed by Mr. James Berenson.
Good evening, Council. I have 4 issues I need to talk. Ma'am, I forgot my hearing aid. When you ring, I can't hear it at all. I'm 79 years old. First of all, congratulations, Derek Kitchen. You are a state senator now. Okay? Now, the first, I'm talking about the ADU. Mrs. Mandelhall, Mr. Roger, and Mrs. Things. You have a SUV, has a 3rd row seats. There is a reason you bought it.
Amir, will you pull your mic up so we can hear you?
There is a reason you have a 3rd row seat. In case your cousin come to town, you can put it on the 3rd row seats. We the people on District 7, 20 south of 2700 South, we bought this large lot for the future improvement. We would like you folks consider that, let us have that. Number 2, 3 weeks ago, across the hall, Mr. Kitchen, you brought up the issue of duplexes. We would like to and welcome to have a duplexes in our neighborhood. We do not have a traffic. We don't. And I am on the border. Next city is Mill Creek City. Their taxes is 25% lower than Salt Lake City. And we are asking on the proposal by Planning Department, guest house for $650. You cannot put nothing in 650 square. The minimum two bedroom, 1-car garage, and the living room is 850 to 900.
Time.
We would like to ask you if you can ask Planning Department
Time.
to change 650 to 850. That's all we are asking, and thank you for listening. Did I tell you I forgot my hearing aid? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cornell. James Berenson next, followed by Jim Webster.
how do you go about getting a paper ballot? I seen this show was done by HBO, your liberal progressive partners in crime, and it showed a clear evidence of how the Diebold machines are hacked. So how do I like start a petition or something to get a paper trail? Because for the life of me, I looked at the election turnouts and like 5,000 people voted, and it just seems to me a city of 1 million people, 5,000 people vote for their district. That just seems asinine. Maybe I'm wrong, who knows? The other thing is, you know, I understand there's no taxation without representation, but I know who Mr. Luke represents. I think everyone went along for that BS CO2 crap, except the District 1 commissar. I think he voted no, but I'm not 100% sure. So it's clearly obvious you all are establishment politicians. You represent the establishment and keep doing things to make them more powerful in this corporation that was once a free state, but, you know, you guys don't care about the little people. And sadly, I don't think the little people care about themselves until they're in bondage, and then by then it's too late. Shut up, sit down, or get shot. And I myself, I would just like, you know, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. I think it's time for the citizens to stand up. And for too long, our voices have been ignored by these establishment kleptocrats. You know, you guys don't care what people have to say. You just do whatever the hell the corporations tell you to do, whatever will make them money. There's no life, there's no liberty. I gave you a definition of liberty off the electronic box. That's what it said. Can't be wrong, can it? But yet you ignore these things. You continue to impose things that oppress people. God-given rights are ignored.
Thank you, Mr. Berenson. Jim Webster, and next up would be Ryan Parker.
You're probably getting tired of me, but you know, I just wanted to applaud you on those resolutions, both of them. I grew up in right on the border of Oregon and California in a little town called Tule Lake. And in Tule Lake, there was an internment camp for the Japanese under the paranoia that we had in World War II. And yet, the families were kept together in the internment camp. I don't know what that says about our current priorities in life. I grew up for most of my life in the Central Valley of California, picking peaches and doing other things with vaqueros and braqueros and different Mexican laborers, and got to really enjoy working with them and appreciate their heritage. And more recently, I've been working with refugees from Burma. They were subjected to, as you probably know, they were subjected to a genocide, essentially. And those that have survived are generally living in South Salt Lake, some in Salt Lake as well. And for 9 years, I've been working with those people. And some of the greatest successes I think we're finding in our school system and throughout our society are refugees that make a tremendous contribution. So I applaud your resolutions and appreciate your having done that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webster. Ryan Parker.
Good evening, Council. It's very great to be here this evening. I think this is the first time I've spoken to you guys this year. I'd like to say hello to Councilwoman Fowler. It's a pleasure to meet you guys. And I really want to thank this council's appointment to our Housing Trust Fund Advisory Board. I really felt it was a great action that we were able to do with the renovation pilot program, and I look forward to doing more work. What brings me here is what's always brought me here, is now that we are less than a year away from our closure of Rio Grande. What has me concerned is what has always had me concerned is that we don't have the capacity, especially for winter. If I could just rattle off numbers off the top of my head, I believe December 22nd we did almost 565 men and over 225 women. I tried to reiterate these concerns through the HRC amendments at our 200-bed cap. And I would like us to revisit either, or actually both, I would like us to revisit, what we will do for our winter overflow contingency and what are we doing about increasing our low-income housing. Because where we're at now, with less than a year to go, as just a really frank discussion, is we're not ready. This weekend alone, we got 100 people from out of town after the weekend holidays. Our population is growing. The demand is ever increasing, and our supply keeps dwindling. We're not ready. Now, while all the other parties leave the table and go off to their other ventures, we're still here. And these are serious concerns, concerns that I want to continue to address, because there's not enough. And I do not want to have this discussion when over 200 people are left out in the cold and we have to look at a winter where people are going down to the Jordan River. But with that being said, I do like to thank you guys for your time tonight. It is good to be back here. And that's that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Mr. Parker's the last card I had tonight. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? All right, come on up, and we'll get you a card as soon as you're done. Oh, sure. Come on, go ahead.
Yeah, excuse me. I wanted to say something about all this beautification, what you're going to do down State Street. I've lived here since 1952, and I've seen Salt Lake grow, yes, and it's got out of hand with the population. But what you're doing with these bike lanes and everything, it's total chaos on 3rd Broadway, 3rd South, with all the beautification. I just went down there. You're putting islands in the middle of a road when we need more space for so many cars, and these roundabouts, which don't make any sense. I don't know how many transplants there are here. You know, are all of you from Salt Lake, grew up, raised? All right, well, then you know what I'm talking about. You're doing all this beautification. You're spending all the money when you could use that money for the kids. And they're getting a poor education, except unless you go to Riverton where all the rich people are. Yeah, they can hire the best teachers. But I look at these kids, they don't even know how to wash a table. They don't know how to do anything. But if you could just do it for the kids and quit doing this beautification, bringing all this crap in, spending money for this, trees, whatever. Yeah, we need more trees, sure, everybody's cutting them down. But they're just not using common sense. You know, you look at these, today they had the bikes. Oh yeah, we got bikes for people. How many people riding the bikes? You know, people are going to drive their cars. They always have. And yeah, but well, let's do this pollution. Look what we're living in. We're living in hell. I found out that we got ruby on all these little microscopic rubies that people are breathing because they put cow urine in diesel, and it's supposed to take the pollution down. Well, it's making little ruby crystals that you breathe in, and you get cancer all along the freeways, you know. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Use your common sense.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. If we can make sure you fill out a card so we can get you on the record as well. Yes. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this tonight?
I'm already on.
Okay. We would, is there anyone else? I guess we already did that. We have no new business tonight, and we have no unfinished business either, which means we are now at the consent portion of our agenda. I will
Move
look
for
a motion.
approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Rogers, a second by Councilmember Kitchen. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. This concludes our formal city council meeting. Thank you for your attendance, and the meeting stands adjourned.